It's a rare opportunity this to really see how realistic iRacing is, because I literally drove this car earlier in the year. So full context for those who don't know, I drove the McLaren 720 GT3 in a full season of British GT 4 years ago. I drove it 2 years ago at the 24 Hours of Spa, and then this is the EVO, and I drove that at this year's 24 Hours of Spa. That was only 3 months ago, so it's fairly fresh in the memory. I remember how it felt in the dry, in the wet, at night. The fact that the new version of Spa got updated at the same time that this car came in the game is just like, what are the odds of that? So it's a really rare opportunity to give it a go. First thing we're going to pay attention to is the sound. Sounds very iRacing-y. Like, it sounds very similar to the other GT3s in iRacing. Little turbo whistle there. The sound... It's not bad, but I don't know, it's not great, to be honest. I was expecting... I literally have not listened to the car at all. I tried to restrain from doing anything with the car. And the sound's not, like, blowing me away, I'm not gonna lie. But let's focus on the driving for a bit. Try and approach it as I did with Spa earlier in the year. Just build up to driving it to the limit. Obviously, this is default setup, so it's not going to feel amazing. The McLaren EVO in real life, out of all the GT3s, apparently, is a very nervous, twitchy, sketchy car. It's quite on the nose, but it's quick. Like, they have to bop it a lot to get it on pace with other GT3s. It's a quick GT3. I'll get my onboard up in a minute to show you what I mean by the sound, but I don't think it's very... I don't think it's close, to be honest. The new version of Spa looks good, though. Alright, let's pay attention to the track very quickly. I'll talk about the car in a minute. It's the first time I've drove this new version of Spa. Turn 1 looked really good. Eau Rouge seemed really easy. Eau Rouge in real life is not that easy. It's like Eau Rouge was too small. Too smooth. I think with Eau Rouge, I'm just approaching it so much slower. I'm only doing 236. So maybe it's the setup, or... That's why it feels so easy. What, I did not think I'd be driving this combo on iRacing this year, I'm not gonna lie. That sounds alright though. That replay sound. Let's quickly listen to it off board. Sounds alright. Oh, that's loud. Yeah, that sounds good. Onboard don't sound right though. Just take the audio for a minute, yeah? Just listen to the noise of it. Okay, and then we do that same section. So it's like I can see they've tried to do it, but it's not quite there. But yeah, the ACC one sounds better from in the car, definitely. It's got more of the noises going on, like the bumpiness and even the, like, I guess like the sound of the gearbox, and is more rattly. Whereas in iRacing, it just sounds a bit too smooth and dampened. Yeah, exactly. I think it sounds a bit too dampened. I think that's the problem. Yeah, it's not aggressive enough. Exactly. It's like, yeah. So for me, audio is quite a big thing for a car on a sim, because it's like it can really immerse you, you know. But in terms of the feeling. I mean, now we're on that topic, it does just feel a little bit dead. Like when you're driving a real GT3, like when you let go of the pit limiter and go up the hill, it just feels alive, and it's so like, it's almost like violent. I know I'm on a sim, so I'm never going to really replicate that, but I feel like ACC feels a little bit more alive, where with this it just feels like Scare Electric's a little bit. It just feels like it's on rails and there's no real like movement in it. Put the TC quite high as well then. Oh yeah, that's the other thing, it doesn't have the TC2 function, it only has TC1. And the TC2 function in the real car was quite a big tool to use. It does feel like there's a lot of grip though. It's not a nervous car in this. Like I remember driving the Lambo and the Audi in it, they were very on edge, especially the Lambo. But this does seem quite forgiving and quite drivable, to be honest. Just want to quickly tweak the setup so it's half decent. We're on max wing. Probably why it feels so flipping planted and slow. Oh, Rouge, look at the speedo. It's over 240 at the apex. .267 on the Camel. Let's have a look at Blanchimont speed. .251. Let me load the sprint setup. Medium downforce sprint. Let's quickly see what speed we're going to be doing in the corners we've looked at on the video. So what we're going to get at Blanchimont. We're 251 in the real car. 249. That's pretty good. 250. Pretty close. Obviously, you could tweak that with setup, but just, you know, loading the fixed setup pretty much. Just seeing where it's roughly at. Whoop. That curve on the exit's a bit different. But a bit of a bad exit, but 241 at the apex of Eau Rouge is what we're aiming for. What was that, 240? And then it dropped down a little bit. It's not miles off, and we've got 267 on the Camel straight, so let's see what we get to here. Oh, we're way down. 257. So again, that could be set up. Maybe we're still running too much wing, but yeah. Try it in the wet. So I want to show you guys a lap in real life of Spa in the wet, this car, right? Obviously, you're braking offline, turn one, going nice and deep. You see the rear moving around under braking. And like, I'm on the new tarmac. Oh no, this is before it got resurfaced. So this is very, very representative. But the amount of grip there was on traction stuff was insane. Eau Rouge, 5th gear, big lift. It's not that wet. The curbs have a surprising amount of grip for the wet as well. And then braking offline again. See the rear moving around. Camera decided to cut out for 5 seconds there. So like sometimes I'm on the dry line, sometimes on the wet line. It depends on the corner. Car's moving around quite a lot on the rubbered line. but it's still quicker to use this line because the wet line would just put you way off and you'd just lose too much time. Just hear the tyre squeal there as well. Sort of moving away from us under traction. Wet line at no name seemed to be better. Then you can straight line the exit and get a good exit. I think it depends if you've got a long straight after. If you have, then you'd probably use the wet line. Dry line at P1. You can even use the curb on the exit a little bit. Braking on the dry line. Decided to opt for the wet line for Piff Paff. Just keep the momentum up offline instead of sitting there on the dry line having no grip and just struggling to get the power down. So dry line here, even on the exit using all the curb. See, sometimes it looks horrible and all over the place, but it's still quicker than keeping it neat and tidy and being slow. But it's very forgiving. Like, you see, I had 3 or 4 moments there and there was no worry about having a spin. Whereas I think with iRacing, you just, as soon as you have a moment, you're pretty much guaranteed to have a spin. And then going to brake offline for the final chicane as well. Just brake later offline. Still meet the apex. And do you guys see what I mean about the, like, the violence of it? Like, the car's just moving all the time, whereas in iRacing, it just feels so still and smooth and, like, dampened. To be fair, coming out of the pits in real life was sketchy as book in the wet. Tyres went up to temperature, lots of rubber. So it's iRacing, isn't it? So the wet physics should really impress me here, to be honest. Oh! Oh! Like real life, gonna opt to the wet line at no name. Oh! TC10? Jesus Christ. ABS 10 as well. Probably a bit extreme, to be honest, but... To be fair, as moments go, that was actually alright. I didn't just loop it. Like, it did let me save the car. Just keep on engaging the ABS and just not being able to stop. Yeah, it's not bad, guys. The wet physics in iRacing are really, really good. But in the video, we were 5th with a lift. No way we can do that in this. It's really hard to say if the rain's more slippery in the game than real life because there's always a different level of rain. So, you know, it's very hard to compare, but I don't think so, though. I think... Oh. Oof. Oh. No grip out there. Oh, oh, oh. Yeah, this is super slippy, but maybe I've gone for too much rain. Maybe I should have gone for light. Yeah, some of the corners in real life I was using the dry line still, whereas in this, the dry line just has absolutely no grip, like there. I just remember in real life thinking you could brake so late into turn 1 offline. Square it up, straight exit. Not on the curb, obviously. When it got wetter in the race, I had to go down to 4th for Eau Rouge, so maybe let's try that. Yeah, there's absolutely no grip on Eau Rouge on the dry line. But it didn't matter how wet it got in real life. Eau Eau Rouge it never felt that slippy. So there is a little discrepancy with the wet feeling or the wet grip. And like it got seriously wet in the race and never felt that bad. So if I was to summarize it from the 1 hour and a half I've been driving it and messing around with it, there's good bits and bad bits, I'd say. Like, for example, the audio, great from the outside, but on board, not great. The feeling, I think, it's got a lot of similarities, like the way it's rear limited, the way it behaves in the wet, but I think it's ultimately limited by the tyre model of iRacing. So it still loses grip way too quickly, doesn't feel that connected to the road, still feels very dampened and very smooth. So it's like you're just literally driving on tiptoes. You can't push the car at all. If you start pushing, then you end up just overdriving it very easily. Where in real life, it's not like that. You can lean on the tyres a bit more. I think I think I do prefer the ACC version, to be honest. From just a general feeling point of view, the audio, this has elements of it that are better, but I think overall, if I was to choose one to practice for real life, maybe I need to try this in VR and give it a go. I've never tried iRacing in VR, so I always use VR to practice for real life, but I think I would probably still choose the ACC version. I feel like the techniques and stuff I have to use to drive and to be quick with it, probably more relevant in ACC than on this. Maybe apart from the braking. The braking on ACC is not great. Just smashing it to 100%. It's not bad though. It's not bad. I sort of anticipate. I predicted it as well. I think it was never going to be outstanding just because of the tyre model in iRacing for the GT3s. There was no way they were going to make it bang on when they're using that, you know? The pitchforks are coming. If iRacing had the tyre model down, I think it's pretty much there, to be honest. But it's quite a fundamental issue. You know, given that the tyre is the thing that connects the road to the car, if that's wrong, everything's going to be wrong. So I'm sure they're working on it. They're very good. They always update things, and I don't want to slay iRacing because I actually like what they are and what they do, but just being honest. Cheers for watching, guys. Have a good evening. See you later.